Hi everybody. Another free motion project that I'm working on. This one is actually done on water-soluble stabilizer. A lot of you use a water-soluble stabilizer as a topper when you're doing your machine embroidery to hold the loops of the towel down, but that's generally a plastic type of stabilizer, where the one I'm using is, it feels like fabric. They actually call it Fabri-Solvi. Sulky makes it. Sulky's Fabri-Solvi, F-A-B-R-I, Solvi. So it is in the Solvi line, but it's not a plastic Solvi. The plastic Solvi, when you stitch in a lot of dense stitches in one place, will actually perforate and split and separate. This is made like material. It looks like fabric when you look at it very closely. So when you can sew and sew and sew and sew and sew in one spot, and it doesn't split or separate or perforate, and one single layer of this is strong enough to support lots and lots and lots of stitches. So I wanted to show you the process of how I created this. I obviously will have some videos up about how the actual technique is of putting down the stitches, but I wanted to show you the process of how it's drawn and then the water soluble going away, because that's really kind of a fun part to see with it dissolving. So the first thing is I need to have my project drawn out first, either tracing it or just doing it freehand, onto the water-soluble stabilizer. This one's just a practice project that I used 2 layers on. You don't need 2 layers, you only need 1. After you draw it, we're going to draw it again with the sewing machine, which is the fun part of turning your sewing machine into an artistic machine where you can actually draw and color with it. So this is 3 different colors, light, medium, and dark, and it's just a bunch of figure 8s or a bunch of circles created a lace project, lace doilies, things like that, if you've done any of those types of projects. So just little figure 8s, but everything has to join together, because if it doesn't join together, you have a separation. When the water-soluble stabilizer goes away, it'll just have a hole right there. You'll have a vacation in your design. So everything needs to interlink and interweave and stitch across the other stitches that you did. So a lot of figure 8s and a lot of little circles creates this. It's more of a textured look, not like the jellyfish behind me that is long rows like your machine embroidery does. It's just straight up and down rows. This is more textured and nubbly looking because I did figure 8s and little circles on there. So the final step, or the next step, would be to dip it into water. We're not going to do that yet, but I wanted to show you what it looks like after I've dipped it. Now, if you just dip it or rinse it in the sink, you're going to dissolve the water-soluble away, but there is, remember, water-soluble in between your bobbin thread and your top thread, and that takes a little longer to go away, so it gets embedded into the stitches, so it actually creates a very stiff piece. If I was to continue to wash that in the sink or agitate it so that it washed out all that water-soluble stabilizer, it would be like a little lace doily, and it would be floppy and just made a thread doily. So we're not washing all of it out. We just want to wash it out till we see the white milky stuff go away and some holes appear in there, and the stabilizer will actually melt down and create that stiffness that we want to create this illusion of that 3D art. So without further ado, let's dip this thing. So anyway, I have a big project here that is just lots and lots of little tiny figure 8s and little circles and things like that. 3 different tones. I'll dip the dark piece in here and leave the rest of it so you can see what it looks like. It doesn't take a lot. I dip it in here. I need to curl this thing a little bit because of the bowl, but you can actually start watching the stuff float away from it in the water. I promise it does work. Unless I used cutaway stabilizer, then it would never dissolve away. Oh, look at that. It's starting to do it. Isn't that fun? So it's actually eating away the stabilizer and melting it into the thread. So I'm going to throw this thing up on this piece of plastic that I have in front of me. I'm going to dip the rest of it later, but we need to dry it flat so we have a nice flat artwork piece to work with. So I'll go ahead and put it up there on the piece of plastic and let that dry out for right now and dip the rest of it later. You guys join me again for another project. I have several more of them for you to see, and some videos on how to actually do the artwork piece underneath the needle on the sewing machine. So we'll flop that guy over here and straighten everything out.